Hello and welcome to this rapid revision video on the achievements of Stresemann. In this video we'll look at his aims, his economic policies and his foreign policy.
Let's look at Stresemann's aims. Now remember, he was Chancellor for a short time in 1923 and then he was Foreign Minister for much longer. When he came to power, the Weimar Republic was facing huge economic and political problems. Firstly, World War I had bankrupted the German economy. The Treaty of Versailles had given Germany a huge reparations debt to pay. And in 1923, when Germany fell behind on that debt, the French occupied the Ruhr and took coal as payment instead. Germans in the Ruhr passively resisted by going on strike. To cover the cost of this, the Weimar government printed banknotes, and this triggered hyperinflation. Germany also suffered political problems too. The new democracy lacked support. Germans associated it with the loss in World War I and the humiliating Versailles Treaty. They also associated it with weak and unstable coalition governments. Germany's international position had also been damaged by the war. At the end of the war, during the Treaty of Versailles negotiations, Germany was dictated to and no longer treated as a great power. And thirdly, within Germany, there was an extremist threat too. Extremists used their freedom of speech in order to get elected to the Reichstag and to voice their anti-democratic views. There were frequent uprisings, such as those by the Spartacists and the Kapp Putsch. Now Stresemann wanted to fix this. His strategy was as follows. In his economic policy, he wanted to fix the economy and create wealth. In his foreign policy, he wanted to win back respect for Germany abroad and maybe get back Germany's great power status. He believed that if he could do this, the Weimar Republic would be very popular in Germany and the German public would be more satisfied with it. They would therefore support moderate parties instead of voting for extremists. As a result, the new Weimar democracy would become more stable. Okay, let's look at Stresemann's economic policies. Firstly, the new currency. Stresemann introduced this to deal with hyperinflation. He called off passive resistance in the Ruhr and told Germans there to go to work for the French. He then introduced a temporary currency, the Rentenmark, and a permanent currency, the Reichsmark. This currency was backed up by gold reserves. As a result, hyperinflation came to an end. The currency was stabilised and normal economic life began again. Businesses could trade and trade recovered. So the economy began to grow. However, there were some negatives here. The middle classes were not compensated for the losses that they had had during hyperinflation, so they continued to distrust the Weimar government. Extremists criticised Stresemann for giving in to the French and calling off passive resistance. And Hitler was so convinced that the Weimar government was now very unpopular that he decided to try and overthrow it by seizing power in Munich with his Munich Putsch. Secondly, Stresemann agreed the Dawes Plan. In an agreement with an American banker, Charles Dawes, Stresemann agreed that reparations payments would be temporarily reduced so Germany could pay them more easily. It was also agreed that America would give Germany huge loans, $25 billion over the next 6 years, and this money was invested in industry and in infrastructure. As a result, Germany was able to pay reparations again, so France left the Ruhr. Relations with France improved, and so Germany was invited to talks on joining the League of Nations. And the economy began to boom. As businesses grew, trade increased, more jobs were created, and more people in work paid more tax, so the Weimar government earned more money in taxes. But there were some limitations here too. Extremists criticised Stresemann for continuing to pay the reparations at all. And Stresemann himself said that the economy remained very unstable, as it was dependent upon American money. He called this dancing on a volcano. Finally, the Young Plan. This was another plan agreed with a banker. Here, the reparations bill was cut by a massive 2/3 down to £2 billion, and the payments were spread out over a longer time period, 59 years. The positive here was that it allowed the Weimar government to spend less on reparations so they could cut taxes for Germans. Germans therefore had more money to spend and they spent it in the shops, so consumer spending rose, and that meant that businesses made more profit, they grew and they began to create new jobs. However, extremists criticised Stresemann for spreading the reparations payments out. They said that he was passing on the debt to future generations. Next, let's look at Stresemann's foreign policies. First of all, the Locarno Pacts. Germany agreed with its neighbours France and Belgium to respect the borders between them. Italy and Britain agreed to police this. This was a major achievement. It led to some really good relations between Germany and its neighbours, which we call the Locarno honeymoon. As a result of these good relations, Germany was invited to talks on joining the League of Nations. Many Germans saw this as a big achievement, so they were happier and more contented with the Weimar government, and they began to support moderate parties instead of extremists. However, there were some negatives too. Extremist groups criticised Stresemann for accepting the borders set at Versailles. They wanted to cancel the Versailles Treaty altogether. Secondly, Germany joined the League of Nations in 1926, and it was given a seat on the Council of the League alongside the other great powers. For many Germans, they saw this as a huge achievement, because Germany was being treated as a partner again, as a great power in the world. Germans were so satisfied with this that they were more contented with their Weimar government, and support for moderate parties rose. However, extremist groups within Germany criticised this. They associated the League with the hated Treaty of Versailles, which they wanted to get rid of, so they criticised Stresemann for signing up to join it. Thirdly, Stresemann signed the Kellogg-Briand Pact in 1928. Here, Germany and 60 other countries pledged to avoid war. Now, for many Germans, they saw this as an achievement. Once again, Germany was being treated as a partner by the other great countries in the world. Germans were so satisfied that moderate parties began to increase in support. However, Stresemann didn't satisfy everybody here. Extremists and army leaders criticised him. They wanted a war in order to take back Germany's lost land. Now let's see what you have learned. Here's a multiple choice quiz. Pause the video now, have a go at it, and when you're ready, hit play. And here are the answers. Pause and check your work. If you'd like to take this further, here are 2 tasks you could have a go at. Remember, there are lots of other rapid revision videos on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like the video if it helped you.